Nandar Kulkarni and welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of College to Corporate Insights Unplugged. Today, we are thrilled to have Mr. Kaustubh sir, who will be sharing his valuable insight and experience on BFSI sector. So without any further delay, let's jump right into the podcast. Everyone, and huge welcome back to College to Corporate Insights Unplugged. I am your host, and I'm absolutely thrilled to kick off season 4. Thank you so much for the incredible love and support you have shown for all our previous season. Your engagement fuels us, and we are ready to bring you even more deep dives into the corporate world. Today, we are thrilled to welcome a highly accomplished professional who embodies the idea of successful career evolution. With over 14 years of experience, Kaustubh sir has started his journey mastering the art of operational efficiency and project strategic management within the financial industry. He then executed a strategic pivot, leveraging his deep expertise in Lean Six Sigma and operational efficiency to transition seamlessly into highly strategy and execution roles within the highly specialized world of banking and financial services. He has held significant roles, including leading large scale projects focused on digital transformation, regulatory compliance, and driving multi-million dollars saving through performance improvement. He currently serves in a senior leadership position within the financial sector, focusing on strategy and execution. So, without any further delay, let's welcome Kaustubh sir. It's a privilege to have you, sir.
Thank you so much for this introduction, Mandar. When I was listening to this introduction, it basically reminded me. Typically, we are used to answer this as a question whenever your interviewer asks you about, tell us about yourself, and we start with this kind of deep background. Where have you studied? What have you done? What are your key projects, etc. But yeah, it was good to listen this introduction from you. Thank you so much. And first of
Thank you,
all,
sir.
I must congratulate the ICFI Business School and the Corporate Connect team for having this must do kind of an initiative for B school students. In my view,
Thank you,
it
sir.
gives an opportunity to the students to understand some of the career paths which one can take after MBA by listening to somebody who have done some work, who have kind of gone through the corporate grill, and probably have some knowledge to share back. So, yep. Thanks for this, and maybe looking forward to the next set of questions which we have.
Thank you, sir. So, without any further delay, let's get started to the podcast. So, we'll be dividing the podcast into three segments. So, we'll be going forward for the segment one, which is questionnaire. So, here comes the first question. You started your career optimizing process. What was the defining moment that made you realize your skills were a perfect fit for a long-term career in the banking and financial sector?
Okay. So, see, sometimes I would say things happen by chance or by virtue of something you have achieved in your past. So, this is exactly what has happened in my case. I started my career in IT. It was typical engineering, pass out, getting into a development company, working on a website for. So I was working on a website for GE General Electric's internal program, where I was working on doing those typical cut, copy, paste kind of job, right? And in those days, coding used to be the same thing. You have the previous codes, you probably copy, refer, you do the pasting of it with some experimentations which client probably is asking you to deliver on. So this is typically is what I have started my career maybe about 14 years back. uh, and as you know, is basically is considered as a founding organization to introduce what you call as Six Sigma philosophy to the corporate world. Jack Welch, who is known as the father of Six Sigma, he inculcated this Six Sigma philosophy in this entire organization. And I was as glad to work as a client. So I was a support service provider from TCS perspective. With We were working with GE projects. So GE had this opportunity which they extended to not only their employees but also to the service providers who are working with them, to learn about the Six Sigma, how do we inculcate these principles in our day-to-day lives, in our projects, processes, etc. And I would probably say this is where the foundation happened to the current banking role which I am, or maybe the banking sector which I have got into. I'll probably elaborate a bit more on this because you typically don't relate IT to banking directly. So I kind of got trained on Six Sigma. I did my Six Sigma Green Belt certification from this organization, and then typical of all students, we do what engineering plus 2 years of IT experience, and then move on to the next role of next career kind of path to go into an B school and pursue your management study. So this is where I did. I kind of got into NMIMS, the Nasim Institute, where I did my full-time MBA in general management, more of operations, strategy, marketing, those kind of subjects. And frankly, I definitely admit, I probably had only those mandatory topics of finance. Otherwise, I did not have too many subjects or topics of finance in my entire MBA study. So this with this background, I appeared for a GDPI for HSBC. We have come to my campus, and the interviewer asked me, who was basically head of the internal process reengineering department there. He liked my profile. He asked me multiple questions on Six Sigma. This is what I had done in TCS. No question on banking or no question on finance aspect, but he took me on the ground that yes, I understand the philosophy. I can probably implement that and take my career forward in the banking sector. This is where I probably said the Six Sigma became my founding stone or foundation for my career in banking. And this is where I got introduced to the banking sector actually. And HSBC being a very good company to work for, it gave me that ample time to learn the processes, understand what are debits, credits, how do you kind of look at a banking process as such. Uh, I also did my Six Sigma Black Belt certification while working at HSBC. And this is the foundation. This is basically the pivot which happened. So when I did my Black Belt certification, I realized I can progress in my banking sector. I don't need to go back to any other industry, kind of look at something else as my career path. Stick to banking. You have achieved certain experience, understanding, and never then look back beyond banking. So uh, maybe basically the Six Sigma certification is something which I would probably attribute as a pivot in my overall banking career. I mean, basically defining moment which shifted me from say IT to banking.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the insight. So here comes the second one. Out of all your experience in strategy and project work, what is the single most valuable skill that you took with you and applied successfully when tackling challenges in a senior role within the financial sector?
Similar, I always believed that skill can always be acquired. You can be trained to acquire a skill, but what you need to have is a will to acquire the skill. So in corporate world, skill matters. I would not say that skill doesn't matter. You need to have certain skill sets to achieve a certain success percentage in your career. But what people interview, when people interview, they are not able to gauge the skills as much as they are able to gauge the will. So I would definitely say will has to be the most important aspect of anyone's path, and one can never succeed without having a will. So from the skill perspective, there are multiple skills. I mean, you can't just rely on one single skill to achieve success in your career. You probably will come to a point where one of the skill set might not be sufficient, and you might have to learn a new skill. But from my looking at my career, I'm probably just kind of trying to maybe gauge which would be the one of the most valuable one. I would probably say structured problem solving,
Okay.
because this is something, whether you are in operations, IT, banking, financial services, insurance, any other industry, manufacturing, be it any industry, problems are going to be inevitable. What you need to have is an ability to approach systematically on solving the problem. And maybe again, I kind of put my gratitude towards the Six Sigma certification, because Six Sigma also tells you on how do you define a problem. How do you break the problem into what are the key root causes of the problem. So analyzing the data, identifying root causes, putting certain frameworks. This is the structured problem solving approach which you probably need to adopt, be it in any industry. And this will definitely have a lasting value. And maybe you guys might also be using a similar skill set when you stall case studies. you probably have to start thinking towards what exactly is the problem which is being mentioned in the case study. How do you kind of what basically is the importance of the problem? What are different attributes of the problem? And you then adopt that approach. When I was at KPMG, I'll just take one more example. When I was at KPMG for 4 years, I used to make pitch to different clients with our solutions. Uh, One needs to understand that what used to stand out was our approach to solve the problem. Because when clients review you or clients review a proposal, they look at how have you structured the problem, how is your process, what exactly, how are you able to solve, how are you able to kind of planning to solve the problem, because solutions can always be thought through on the uh, at any last moment, but how do you navigate this entire journey of structured problem solving, that is what it stands out. So yeah, maybe structured problem solving is the skill which I would definitely say is one of the most valuable skills which you should have.
As you have already mentioned, if there is a will, then you can definitely gain the skills. So here comes the third one. What was the most crucial banking specific concept or area of knowledge you had to master quickly to ensure your process improvements delivered strategic value in a highly regulated industry?
uh, so see, from the perspective, as I said, I to probably get into banking world, understand what exactly are the different banks doing. So I would probably say that maybe understanding the regulations, because BFSI is a highly regulated sector. I mean, when you're working in an Indian organization, you have to have a know-how of the guidelines which are being led by RBI, SEBI, IRDA, all other regulatory institutions. Similarly, when you are working for an MNC bank, you need to kind of understand the policies and the regulations which have been led by the monetary authorities of those respective countries. So the important aspect for me was to understand this risk and compliance framework. When I came to the banking, I was primarily from a project background. So I used to focus on delivery metrics. As a project manager, you are always bound to think in terms of what are the boundaries, what are the problems, what are the key metrics which you want to achieve from. But implementing a project in the banking industry must also come out with the regulatory landscape which you probably have. So a few years back, I was the program manager for launching credit card business for DBS. So we launched the first credit card for DBS Bank in India. And for me, the most important thing was to read the credit card master direction from RBS. What are the frameworks which RBI is prescribing for? What are the boundaries within which I need to probably learn or probably stay within myself? So I would urge all the B school students, so if you are planning to come to the banking sector, start reading some of the RBI circulars. Go to RBI's website. In fact, you'd probably find much more information just than the circulars in the RBI side. You can probably have all the data points available on the Indian banking side. You can probably get to know our financial services industry much better if you go and just start visiting the RBI side. So yeah, maybe knowing the rules of the land is definitely most important aspect which I would say is required, or maybe I probably had to master quickly when I joined banking.
Definitely, sir. So here comes the fourth one. How did your daily responsibility shift? Was your day more about fixing problems, or did it become more about building strategy and managing risk once you moved into the financial sector?
That's a great question, Mandar. So initially, my day was all about firefighting. I mean, when you start your journey in any industry, be it banking or be it sales, be it FMCG in manufacturing, you are always doing a firefighting on the initial few days, identifying bottlenecks, stabilizing the processes part, driving short-term improvements. But over the time, when you realize or when you get evolved, you probably start thinking on the strategy building part, designing frameworks, enabling teams to think proactively and aligning the process with long-term business goals. But those are the stuff which you really focus upon when you grow. And I would definitely say that the shift was from problem solving to problem prevention kind of an approach. So, and it's a sign of maturity for both for a function as well as for a professional. And I would attribute my shift, my stint with KPMG, where I was in the management consulting role, for getting me introduced to multiple frameworks. So I used some of the frameworks to set goals. We had BCG frameworks, McKinsey frameworks. They give me an opportunity to work with founders and CXOs of the organization, develop a develop a balcony view. Maybe I don't know how many of you know the concept of balcony view versus the dance floor view. When you are on the dance floor, you're working with the last level of the last leg of the organization. You're always finding or probably solving for a problem. When you're on the balcony view, you are thinking from the top. So you get into the shoes of CXO, you wear that hat and think, what exactly is this problem about? How is this going to impact to the organization? So when I said I was working with KPMG, I got an opportunity to work with the multiple CXOs. I got to kind of spend time on developing this balcony view. In fact, I worked on a project where I developed scorecards and goals for some of the CXOs at Reliance AMC. I work with Sandeep Sikka, who is the CEO of Reliance AMC, where we created scorecards for his departments. And this is basically, as you grow into the career, you probably more mature yourself and move towards the strategy part of the role rather than just kind of doing the firefighting.
Thank you, sir, for the insight. So here comes the fifth question. Your earlier role focused on efficiency and cost saving. How did you learn to connect that process, focus mindset to the business strategy and profit goals of a bank?
So when I was focusing on process improvements through Lean Six Sigma, or basically more like Kaizen approach, I used to measure efficiency improvements like turnaround times, first time right, throughputs, and certain other metrics like what's the actual or the notional cost saves, or at best the revenue increases for any of the processes or any of the departments which I was driving the project. But again, my tenure at KPMG in the consulting world actually helped me with this pivot from being operational, to kind of have develop an attitude towards being strategic. So when you are making or reviewing strategy, you have to have a 360-degree view, which probably have different types of metrics. So maybe I break this down into kind of four types of metrics which we typically review when you are focusing on the business strategy or the profits of the bank. One is the shareholder metrics, which are typically like your P2E ratios, your financial leverage, your net promoter scores, or even for that matter, customer satisfaction scores. Then you focus on business metrics, which are typically your sales, your revenue, gross margins, NPBT, the sales related aspects of the bank. Then you focus on operational metrics, which are like cost, turnaround time, FTR, the ones which I spoke about earlier. And then also, Rick, probably has you have to develop an attitude to focus about people metrics like attrition percentage, employee satisfaction. So when I was at KPMG, I've gone through multiple annual reports of different organizations, because when you are developing a pitch, when you are developing kind of going for a client visit, you need to know the background of the client, and that's where you focus on. You go through those annual reports, any financials data which has been published for the organization, and that brings you the perspective of becoming strategy focused. So yeah, this is where I learned how to connect from process focused mindset to be a business strategy or a profit kind of focus thing.
Thank you, sir, for the beautiful insight. So here comes the sixth question. If a peer wants to get hired by a financial institution, how should they best talk about their current project and operation experience to show a bank they are the right fit?
Sorry, Mandar, I just lost you for 10 seconds.
Should I repeat the question again?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So if a peer wants to get hired by a financial institution, how should they best talk about their current project and operation experience to show a bank they are the right fit?
Okay, okay, thanks. See, my profile will show you that there are different types of roles in a financial institution. I mean, you don't need to have specialization in finance to get into banking. I have entered the banking industry. with my Six Sigma certification. When what one needs to demonstrate is the awareness of the impact of work they have done in the organization. So if you are doing a project, be it at whatever level, you might be doing a project in the procurement department, you might be doing in the marketing department, or you might be doing in a process related aspect. What you need to demonstrate is how to track and report the metrics of the project, and how will they have an impact to the top line or the bottom line of the company. And this is exactly what I would probably recommend any peers, or even the people who want to kind of get into financial industry. In your CV, demonstrate this benefit metrics. I mean, we typically write paras of projects in our CV, but that doesn't stand out. Nowadays, we use automated CV scanning tools to just kind of focus on some of the pointers on the CV. And whenever we look at a CV, we try and see whether the person is able to concisely represent the information which he wants to kind of demonstrate. And that's where, if you are able to demonstrate the benefit metrics in your CV, the impacts which I talked about, uh, that definitely favors the person in terms of the hiring process. And when you get into a PR, or when you kind of are describing your CV to somebody as an interviewer, dwell a bit more on the problem than on solution. See, as I told, that detailing about the problem is the most important aspect of solving the problem. The solution can always be thought on the fly. You can always implement something, but whether the problem has been described enough to understand the root cause is the most important aspect of solving problem. And whenever we say human behavior feels the pain when anyone talks about the problem which he has solved, and not so much of the happiness or not so much of the solution actually which he has implemented. So I would suggest, describe the problem which basically was being solved in that project, or what which basically somebody has attempted to solve. Describe the impact it was having to the organization, and why was it necessary to solve the problem. What was the urgent need to kind of attack to that problem and come out with a solution. Use 5W method, uh, which is basically you are able to describe any problem kind of tactfully, and with all the necessary details. And maybe just another view, demonstrate your will. Demonstrate your will to learn and acquire new skills. See, nobody can say that we have acquired all the skills which are required for any job. But what we can demonstrate is our willingness to learn the skill. Show your knowledge on what kind of problems banks currently face. Nowadays, banks are going through so many regulatory changes, so much of environmental issues, uh, where if you are not able to know the problems or not able to kind of give information about this problem, people will probably say that you don't have an understanding of the business itself. So show that. If you're an operations or a project person, indicate the project manager or problem solving frameworks. Take simple examples. When anyone asks you about, say, tell us about the revenue of a bulb manufacturing company in India, nobody is looking at the right answer for it. What everybody is looking for it is the approach on how can we arrive at this. And this is what I would probably say. Give us an maybe a feedback to some of the peers who want to get hired by financial institutions.
Thank you, sir, for the
Make
insight.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, sir. So here comes the seventh question, sir. Financial services are closely watched. How did you adapt your project management style to thrive in an industry with more rules and regulations?
See, as we spoke, right, that financial industry, we typically call it as a BFSI, is highly regulated, because we deal with money. Money is of investments of people, investments of organizations. So it is very important to understand the regulatory governance in banking. Uh, and as I said, I was never from a banking industry before. Got into it as a process-driven approach, uh, having certain knowledge about Lean, Six Sigma, some of these fundamentals. So I adopted a couple of approaches to understand more about financial services and understand more about these rules and regulations. One was to learn by reading. So I had to read a lot of circulars wherever I was implementing a project. Whatever I was doing, I had to kind of go through some of the guardrails which the regulator has kind of laid. And then second was understanding the same things from the SMEs. So project management teaches you to assess the stakeholders, because that's one of the key aspects of implementing any project, to assess the stakeholders. And typically I'll just give you a brief. There are typically four types of stakeholders. We plot them with a 2 by 2 matrix against interest and influence. So some of the stakeholders having high interest, some of the stakeholders with low influence. There are stakeholders which have probably high interest and high influence. So you need to assess these stakeholders, and that is what project management teaches you about. So what I did was I identified the stakeholder who are having high interest, maybe low influence doesn't matter to me, but having high interest, because these are typically the SMEs. They will be more interested. I spent time with them, understood the regulations from them, uh, and then kind of got into the aspect of the project. So this is how I adopted. I use my project management style to kind of thrive in this industry, work on projects. And one more aspect maybe is identify and get risk and compliance functions early in the project lifestyle. So you always have a project can never be implemented by one person. It needs to have a project team. And that is where if you are able to involve the risk and compliance teams, because they are the SMEs of this entire aspects, entire regulations. If you are able to get them early, you will be able to minimize the rework and also able to execute the project successfully. And I would probably say that this is how I could deliver the innovations and still manage the guidelines.
Thank you, sir. So here comes the question. We know technology is changing banking. How crucial is it for an operational professional today to understand things like automation and digital process if they want to move up in finance?
Hmm. Interesting. uh, the way we are having this interaction itself is a digital interaction. So
Exactly.
literally, we there has been a huge paradigm shift which has happened, and trust me, it is no longer optional. Understanding the digital nuances of the banking industry has become more essential than ever. uh, you don't have to be a coder. See, nobody is asking you after getting into management, passing it out from with a flying colors, getting into any industry. Nobody's asking you to do a coding. But what you must understand is what technology can do. There are multiple events which are currently getting held in terms of talking about the fintechs of the world, what fintechs are able to do, how are they able to solve the problem. So knowing some of these aspects which are typically the good fintechs which are bringing a technology innovation to solve a problem, that is more important. You need to have certain know-how of what's RPA, what's artificial intelligence, what's NLP, how are they helping the organizations to solve certain challenges which organizations face, how are they able to enhance the customer journeys or reduce operational friction. So this is what is essential. In my current role, I'm heading a technology driven projects for retail lending and cards. But I'm managing it from business side. So what I need to do is I need to understand the language of business. Basically, what is the customer problem which the business side is planning to solve, and translate into the language of technology, where basically the technology teams will deliver the specific code or specific application. So, as I said, in the last few years, this technology has gone through so much of a change that you probably will never be. So, even if you learn some coding, or even if you learn certain technology now, it will become obsolete in certain few years of time. But what you need to probably understand is how do you become the bridge between the business and the technology functions. So, this is
Exactly.
what is expected from our management professionals. So yeah, I would
Exactly.
probably say, as a project management professional, or maybe as a management professional, what we need to have is a view of the overall investment and returns of any technology which we are going to work upon. How will you present this to your CEO? when you want to probably get certain investment done on artificial intelligence. It's not cheap money which organizations are investing. In fact, if I probably say we are investing almost 20-25% of our entire year's budget on technology. So you have to focus on whether the technology is going to give you payback, how what's the payback period, what's the ROI, and have a view in the industry. No need to be a first mover on the technology side now in the banking, because people may fail. It is better for you to know how they have failed, on what they have failed, and then implement the same in a better way. So please, when all the professionals or all the students, I would probably advise, do have an attitude, do have a aptitude towards the digital part of it, but don't get bogged down by it. Understand more in terms of what is your business awareness and technical awareness. That is how it will lead to increase, give you opportunity in the leadership roles.
Thank you, sir, for the insight. Here comes the ninth question. What is the most essential piece of non technical advice, a mindset, or a approach you would give to someone for an operations background who is preparing for a mid to senior role in the financial industry?
Hmm. So, see, I follow a, I have, this is where this framework I have kept myself when I was studying four P's of marketing. So I believe everybody knows four P's of marketing. Everybody has gone through Kotler. Uh,
Yes.
what I created was four P's of myself for my career. One is purpose. So you need to have a purpose on whatever things you want to do. Be it you want to earn new skill, you should have a purpose. Why are you doing it? Have a purpose. Whatever you are trying to achieve, prepare. You prepare well. Without preparation, you are not going to get into any stage. You can't just be on the fly and just kind of demonstrate your knowledge. You have to prepare. Be it any event, be it anything, you have to prepare. Third, you need to practice. See, we have always heard that the wording is that practice makes one perfect. So it is not going to go away. We have been using practice all along in your schooling, studies, everywhere. It follows the same in your professional career as well. Practice whatever you are prepared for. And last and most important thing, have patience. Please understand, currently, because I interview people, I kind of have hired many people from outside organizations. Have also conducted the interviews for colleges, campuses. So what I always find them is, nowadays people are not having that much of patience to give organizations certain time to succeed. I mean, you need to give that patience, you need to have that patience, you need to give both organization as well as yourself time to evaluate and then succeed. Don't just kind of shift, don't make so many pivots in your career that you will have a zigzag path to follow. You will never be able to grow after say 10 years. You will always, till 10 years you will never find issue, because you will always keep on growing. But when your CV reflects you have changed 5 jobs in 10 years, it will not help you to take to the next level. So have patience. So I'll probably say these are the four P's which you should follow whoever is preparing from to kind of get into a mid senior level role in the financial industry.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we are heading to our segment second, that is rapid fire round. That gives our listener a clear path. Now for a quick round, we'll call it the pivot. I'll give you a question along with few options. You need to choose the best option which reflects your professional instinct. Are you okay to go, sir?
Let me keep my project manager brain from over analyzing outside. Let's do this
Exactly.
in a quick manner.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, sir. So here comes the first question for rapid fire round. When solving a complex business problem, you prioritize option A, speed of implementation, option B, cost reduction, option C, stakeholder alignment, or option D, flawless documentation. Thank you, sir. Now we'll be moving on to the second segment, which is the rapid fire round that gives our listener a clear path. Now, for a quick round, we'll call it the pivot. I'll give you a questions along with few options. You need to choose the best option which reflects your professional instinct. Are you okay, sir?
Yep, sure. Let's do it, Mandar.
Okay, so here comes the first one. When solving a complex business problem, you prioritize option A, speed of implementation, option B, cost reduction, option C, stakeholder alignment, or option D, flawless documentation.
I mean, without a doubt, stakeholder alignment, because if people aren't aligned, even the best solutions won't stick. But once minds are there on the same page, stakeholder alignment stakeholder part.
Okay, so here comes the second one. For your biggest career growth, which was more critical? A, technical mastery, B, networking and mentorship, C, project volume, D, higher academic qualifications.
I would say networking and mentorship, because as I have always said, skills we can acquire. So skills will open the doors, but which door to go into will only be told by mentors. So networking and mentorship is the most important aspect.
Okay. So here comes the third one. When starting a large scale efficiency project, you focus on option A, the technological tools, option B, mapping the current ASIS process, option C, defining to be process, or option D, team structure and roles.
I would believe now you will answer my on my behalf. It has to be as is process.
Mm,
The more you
ex-
detail you problem create the problem statement, more easier it is to implement solutions.
Okay. So here comes the fourth one. In the financial sector, which aspect demand the most attention from leaders? A, operational stability, B, sales target, C, marketing reach, or D, product design.
See, everything plays a role. Uh, Everything has a particular space or a place and attention from leaders. But operational stability is something, if you don't have it, then you lose the trust. So to build the trust, what you need to have is an operational stability. Uh, so customers might forgive a delay here and there, but if they are not uncertain of the behavior or the system which you are giving them, they would not stay invested.
Okay. So here comes the fifth one. When when driving major changes in a large organization, the most effective tool is A, financial incentive, B, clear continuous communication, C, new software, or D, mandatory training.
Clear and continuous communication, because changes don't fail because of poor ideas. Change fails if people communicated, getting them onto the site. That's the most important aspect of driving any major change in a large
Exactly,
organization.
sir. So here comes the sixth one. Do you primarily prefer a methodology that is option A, waterfall, B, agile, C, hybrid, or D, hands off?
I would go with hybrid. You can't always have a waterfall model, neither you can always have an agile model. What you probably need to have is a structure of both waterfall plus agile, which is I call as flexible, sorry, hybrid, where both best of the both worlds I can you can have it for especially for complex or regulated environments.
Okay, sir. So here comes the seventh one. The most important metric to track in a service business is A, revenue per employee, B, customer satisfaction, C, employee turnover rate, D, market share.
Get CSAT, boss. If you are able to get CSAT, everything else will follow. So
Exactly.
CSAT is the most important metric for any organization here to drive success.
Okay. So here comes the last one for the rapid fire round. When looking at a new role, is it more important to prioritize A, challenging use for your core skills, B, working in a well-known industry, C, shorter commute, or D, stability of the organization?
Shorter commute was interesting to hear as an option there, but yeah, if from professionally speaking, challenging anything which is challenging your core skills, that is something which you are always looking at in the role, because that is what will give you a way to have I mean to focus on something to solve, something to cheer about. When you grow up in your career, you can always go back and reflect, oh, this is the problem which I solved, this is the impact which I created. So, yep, challenging use of your core skills is something which is the most important part to prioritize.
Thank you, sir. Here comes the rapid fire round end. So we are heading to our third segment, that is final question. So thank you, Kaustubh, sir. That was illuminating. Now we can come to the 10th and the final question, which is dedicated entirely to our listeners who are stepping into the corporate world. So here comes the question number 10. You have successfully navigated complex transition and excel in a multiple high-stakes environments. What are your final recommendations, advice, or suggestions for students and young professionals who are just starting their journey from college to corporate, especially those who might want to pivot their career path down the line?
So there are multiple things which we spoke about, right? I mean, you need to have will, you need, how do you structure your CV, how do you demonstrate? But as I told you, right, when I learned about 4 Ps, I created my own 4 Ps for ensuring that these are the things which probably give me a success in my career. And touch wood, touch black, it has at least been on the right path. So purpose, prepare, practice, and patience. So these are the 4 P's which I would probably say. I'll give everyone as an advice or maybe a suggestion. Maybe create some structure around these 4 P's for yourself. Uh, Always plan in this way and try and see how the delivery probably happens in that way. So if the listeners can take away this, if maybe they are able to benefit from these aspects, definitely.
Thank you, sir. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning into season 4 of Premier College to Corporate Insights Unplugged. We hope you found Kaustubh's deep dive into the project management, strategy development, and the banking sector as insightful as we did. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get our podcast, and we'll sure next
Thank
time
you for
for the
tuning
more
into the
corporate
premiere
insights.
episode of
Till
season
then, have
4.
a productive week.
Don't forget to
Thank you, sir.
like, share, and
Thank you.
subscribe to our channel. You can also catch us on Spotify and social media for more such insightful content. We are looking forward to have you with us for episode 2.